You don't have to believe in it. You don't have to take someone's word for it. You just look for yourself. It starts to be, to some extent or another, it starts to be self-evident. But when you start to get this on a deeper and deeper level, you stop making the choice to engage that which is always wanting. You just see it with wonderment. Oh, look at that thing. And then it just kind of falls. And you let yourself experience what's it like when it falls. What's it really like when it disappears? It may begin at the beginning it may seem, maybe somewhat comforting, but not particularly impressive. Which is another reason why we don't look at it very long, because it's not, we want to be hit with a thunderbolt of, something. But sometimes you got to watch out for those things that don't seem like much. Sometimes the littlest, seemingly most ordinary thing ends up to be like almost like a faraway knothole in the fence that you disregarded your whole life. You never looked at it. And then one day you went right up to that knothole and you put your eyeball through it, and all of a sudden you saw the entire universe through the knothole. Wow, I never knew there was no universe on the other side of this little knothole in the fence. Little things in yourself can end up to be immense things. And I think one of the most important things about this is when you start to see it, when you start to experience, even in a very subtle, small way, you start to realize, you may start to realize something very beautiful, something very, in a modern vernacular, you could say empowering. You start to realize that those moments then become choices. Something that's automatic. If you're running on automatic pilot, and you're asleep in the back seats, there's no choice about anything. But as soon as you see how something's working, you see the moment, you see that something could be engaged or resisted, or neither one of those, you start to realize that each moment actually becomes a choice, that you actually have a choice. Without getting into the non-dualistic philosophy of no chooser and choice and all that kind of nonsense, which just goes in circles. But experientially anyway, whether you absolutely do have a choice, that's really quite inconsequential for what I'm talking about. Experientially, at each of those you start to realize you have a choice, which is actually lovely. It's nice to know you have a choice. It's also humbling, because then you start to realize how you're choosing every bit of your own suffering. One has to start to take responsibility for that, but nonetheless, at least you don't blame it on anybody else then. I hope you don't blame it on yourself either, because that doesn't actually have any positive effect either. But when you see that these little moments are, in a certain sense, moments of choice, and moments of what you want. And life doesn't care what you want. If you want to desire and go through that whole never-ending thing, there's no entity up there that goes, well, you're really bad for doing that, I think I'll punish. It doesn't work that way. It's just that it's unsatisfying, it leaves you wanting more, and that's it. You're not being blamed, nobody dislikes. It's not even wrong to do it. It's just, you go that way, and it's like, it just leaves you completely unsatisfied, but only for your whole life, that's all. But even doing that, that's not wrong either, is it? It's just a particular lifestyle, Seems that's what everybody chooses, but, And actually, culture thinks people that stop making that choice are actually rather odd. They're actually rather odd, But that moment, those little moments, those are the key to everything. Everything. Your own well-being, your own liberation, human beings getting along with one another, the welfare of people you care and love. I mean, on any level you want to take it, you realize that's where it either happens or doesn't. Right there. Little moments. Right at that instant that thing comes up, wants something, insists upon something, and you can't stop that from coming up. You can see if you're going to engage it. Like I said, if you resist it, you're just desiring not to desire, but if you use your intelligence, you just look at it, like I said. Because once you've seen it deeply enough, when you look at it, what you see is you already know where it's all going to end up. You already know. Every single moment you look, you already know exactly where it's going to end up, because it's always ended up the same place, but only every single time. It's totally consistent. It ends up exactly where it begins, which is, I want. That's where it ends up. I want.